Welcome to the final round of the Gauntlet. Thank you all for tuning in, by the way, and sticking around and watching the drama unfold as we bear down and knuckle down to the final two teams, the Frank-tastic Four and the Flurry Four. If you're curious about the Gauntlet, wondering what the heck the Gauntlet is, I'll make sure to include the link in the description below that will take you directly to the Gauntlet playlist. And now we go live to the battlefield where we have quite a crowd in attendance. If you happen to be a social media junkie like I am, make sure to follow me either on Twitter or Instagram. If you're familiar with the platforms, you're familiar with how they work, so I'm not going to explain what I do on either of these. Just give me a follow if you can. So let's get things kicked off here. Starting with the Frank-tastic Four, they won the map bro and they chose the Robinson Park outdoor map from the Batman No Man's Land event. I chose this map for the Frank-tastic Four because I figured that I would want to keep the Flurry Four out in the open, seeing as how they were a melee heavy team. And the Flurry Four here gets stuck in a very tough spot, and I am going to impart some words of wisdom, if you will, regarding being the controller or the aggressor. This is an example that this team perfectly exemplifies because it's really got only two options right now. Either be aggressive as they're intended to be, or try to control the battlefield, try to control the map and their placement and their positioning so they can try to launch a counterattack. However, this plays against their initial strategy, which is to be aggressive, because you want Wolverine to be constantly attacking, trying to get Flurry, get leadership roles on him so he can constantly keep moving. What would happen if I tried to play the range game, and again, seeing as how this team is a melee heavy team, I would lose. It's an automatic loss. And this is a decision that has to be made as the game begins. Once you see your opponent's team, you have to make that decision. Am I the aggressor or am I the controller? And in this case, with the Flurry Four, they're the aggressor. For now, let's go back to map choice. So you see how Robinson Park map choice is already paying off for Human Torch here, getting the high ground, being able to pulse wave everyone but Valeria Richards on the Flurry Four team. Remember that both teams had access to 3 theme team probability controls each. Those are represented by the red die that you'll see on screen. The Frank-tastic Four start their turn 2 by cracking through some of the Flurry Four armor. Invisible Woman takes Ghost Rider to set up defensively against the incoming counterattack. Part of the reason why I use Ghost Rider and Invisible Woman to protect Franklin Richards is to decrease the number of attacks going up against him. He is the most crucial cog in the Frank-tastic Four team, hence the name, so that's the reason why I decided that it's probably best to protect them, make sure that the little core keeps going. Not to be mean, but at this point Invisible Woman is pretty much disposable. And Ghost Rider is actually very tough to KO out, as you're gonna see, because of her trait, the temporarily sent back by Johnny Blaze, King of Hell trait, which says when Ghost Rider would be KO'd for the first time, instead click her to any click number from 1 to 5. And the next time she takes damage from an opponent's attack, KO her, and it has protected pulse wave. As you're gonna see, this forces the Flurry Four to waste yet another attack on her, which makes a total of 3 attacks absorbed by Ghost Rider alone. And the third one does do her in, but this frees up a line of fire for Franklin Richards here to use probability control against the Thing. Valeria Richards here had the option to make a range attack against Franklin Richards, but I decided to try to go for the KO and selected Blade's Claw's Fangs against Invisible Woman. I felt that the Flurry Four needed to make up some ground for having to waste 3 attacks to KO Ghost Rider and try to take out Invisible Woman with at least one of the attacks that Valeria Richards was going to make with her Flurry. And after she misses both attacks, things don't get much better from there, as you're going to see Black Panther here miss both of his attacks as well against Black Leopard. After a very unsuccessful turn by the Flurry Four, I'm looking to capitalize on this with the Frank-tastic Four and try to close this game out early. Unfortunately here, Human Torch doesn't hit his willpower roll and is forced to wait a turn to contribute to the action coming up. Meanwhile, you'll see Franklin here continue to just dominate the battlefield with his ability to choose 3 powers every turn. I should also note that he did take 3 unavoidable damage the previous turn, and this turn he also took another 3 unavoidable damage due to that die he has to roll at the end of every turn. And after a flurry of PC rolls here, unfortunately Black Panther gets KO'd by Black Leopard. This puts the Flurry 4 in a very tough spot, and with Wolverine having 2 action tokens on him, things don't look very good for the Flurry 4 right now. Losing Black Panther here means losing Outwit for the Flurry 4, so I decided to kind of reprioritize my target. So instead of going after Franklin Richards, I decided to start going after Black Leopard. So if you're the competitive player, these are decisions you have to make as the actual game is playing out. Lyja here, being the only available attacker, gives the Flurry 4 a glimpse of hope here, hoping they can hang on for at least one more turn. Franklin Richards here is a gambling man's best friend, and unfortunately for myself, I am a gambler and I love to just roll that die at the end of the turn. Usually I roll pretty hot and usually roll low numbers. However, this particular match, for some reason, I kept rolling 5s and 6s. So by this point of the game, he had already taken 6 damage, and I was already starting to see the writing on the wall if I didn't apply more pressure to the Flurry 4. And Human Torch here sets up a perfect example of what map control should look like, with an ability to be able to knock back characters such as his. Positioning and placement are very important in this game, and if you can somehow manipulate that, you gain yourself an advantage. And finally, I'll just refer back to the beginning of this video when I said how important map placement is, and you're gonna see right here the final nail in the coffin come through as Human Torch's knockback and the subsequent follow-up attacks by Franklin Richards and Black Leopard were able to just keep the Flurry 4 away from the center of the map, from them getting the advantage of the higher ground. And unfortunately, that failure of a second turn cost the Flurry 4, and thus pronouncing the Frank-tastic Four the first ever winners of the first ever recorded Gauntlet for casual Clixin. And here is the core of the team in some particular order. Go ahead and pause if you'd like to see what they did throughout the Gauntlet. So be sure to like and subscribe, that way you stay tuned, because the Frank-tastic Four are currently rewriting reality as we speak, and that means that there's a lot of surprises coming up, so make sure to stay tuned. And as always, thank you so much for watching.